Today is Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, otherwise known as Day 42 of Digital Learning. So today we will be reading Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters. It is written by John Steptoe, and it's an African tale. By John Steptoe. A long time ago, in a certain place in Africa, a small village lay across a river and half a day's journey from a city where a great king lived. A man named Mufaro lived in this village with his two daughters, who were called Minyara and Nyasha. Everyone agreed that Minyara and Nyasha were very beautiful. Minyara almost always had a bad temper. She teased her sister whenever their father's back was turned, and she had been heard to say, "Someday, Nyasha, I will be a queen, and you will be a servant in my household." "If that should come to pass," Nyasha replied, "I will be pleased to serve you. But why do you say such things? You are clever and strong and beautiful. Why are you so unhappy?" "Because everyone talks about how kind you are, and they praise everything you do," Minyara replied. "I'm certain that Father loves you best. But when I am queen, everyone will know that your silly kindness is only a weakness." Nyasha was so sad that Minyara felt this way, but she ignored her sister's words and went about her chores. Nyasha kept a small plot of land in which she grew millet, sunflowers, yams, and vegetables. She always sang as she worked, and some said it was her singing that made her crops more bountiful than anyone else's. One day, Nyasha noticed a small garden snake resting beneath a yam vine. "Good day, little Nyoka," she called to him. "You are welcome here. You will always keep any creatures who might spoil my vegetables." She bent forward and gave the snake a loving pat on the head, and then she returned to work. From that day on, Nyoka was always at Nyasha's side, and when she tended her garden, it was said that she sang all more sweetly when he was there. Mufaro knew nothing about how Minyara treated Nyasha. Nyasha was too considerate for her father's feelings to complain, and Minyara was always careful to behave herself when Mufaro was around. Early one morning, a messenger from the city arrived. The great king wanted a wife. The most beautiful and worthy daughters of the land are invited to appear before the king. "And who will choose to become the queen?" the messenger proclaimed. Mufaro called Minyara and Nyasha to him. "It would be a great honor to have one of you chosen," he said. "Prepare yourselves to journey to the city. I will call together all of our friends and make a wedding party. We will leave tomorrow as the sun rises." "But, my father," Minyara said sweetly, "it would be painful for either of us to leave you, even to be a wife for the king. I know Nyasha would grieve to death if she was paired from you. And I am strong. Send me to the city, and let poor Nyasha be happy here with you." Mufaro beamed with pride. The king had asked for the most worthy and most beautiful. "No, Minyara, I cannot send you alone. Only a king can choose between such worthy daughters. Both of you must go." That night, when everyone was asleep, Minyara stole quietly out of the village. She never had been to the forest that night before, and she was frightened. But her greed to be the first to appear before the king drove her on. In her hurry, she almost stumbled upon a small boy who suddenly appeared, standing in the path. "Please," said the boy, "I am hungry. Will you give me something to eat?" "I have only brought enough for myself," Minyara replied. "But please," said the boy, "I am so very hungry." "Out of my way, boy. Tomorrow I will become your queen. How dare you stand in my path?" After traveling for what seemed to be a great distance, Minyara came to a small clearing. There, silhouetted against the moonlight, was an old woman seated at a large stone. The old woman spoke. "I will give you some advice, Minyara. Soon after you pass this place, there will be two paths to cross. You will see a grove of trees. They will laugh at you. You must not laugh in return. Later, you will meet a man with his head under his arms. You must be polite to him." "How do you know my name?" "How dare you advise my future queen? Stand aside, you ugly woman," Minyara scolded, and then rushed on her way without looking back. Just as the old woman had foretold, Minyara came to a grove of trees, and they did indeed seem to be laughing at her. I must be calm, Minyara thought. I will not be frightened. She looked up at the trees and laughed out loud. I will laugh at you, trees, she shouted and hurried on. It was not yet dawn when Minyara heard the sounding of rushing water. The river must be up ahead, she thought. The great city is just on the other side. But there on the rise she saw a man with his head tucked under his arms. Minyara ran past him without speaking. A queen acknowledges only those who please her, she said to herself. I will be queen. I will be queen, she chanted as she hurried on toward the city. Nyasha woke at the first light of dawn. As she put on her finest garments, she thought about how her life might be changed forever beyond this. I'd much prefer to live here, she admitted to herself. I'd hate to leave this village and never see my father or sing to little Nyoka again. Her thoughts were interrupted by loud shouts and commotion from the wedding party assembled outside. Minyara was missing. Everyone bustled about, searching and calling for her. When they found her footprints on the path that led to the city, they decided to go on as planned. As the wedding party moved through the forest, brightly plummeted birds darted in the cold green shadows beneath the trees. Though anxious about her sister, Nyasha was soon filled with excitement of all the trees there was to be seen. They were deep in the forest when she saw the small boy standing beside the side of the path. You must be hungry, she said, and handed him a yam she had brought for her lunch. The small boy just smiled and disappeared as quietly as he had come. Later, they approached the place where two paths crossed. The old woman appeared silently and pointed to the way of the city. Nyasha thanked her and gave her a small pouch filled with sunflower seeds. The sun was high in the sky when the party came to the grove of towering trees. Their uppermost branches seemed to bow down to Nyasha as she passed beneath them. At last, someone announced that they were near their destination. Nyasha ran and topped the rise before the others could catch up with her. She soon transfixed at the side of her city. Oh, my father, she called, a great spirit must stand guard here. And just what lies before us. I never in all my life dreamed that there could be anything so beautiful. Arm in arm, Nyasha and her father descended the hill, crossed the river, and approached the city gate. Just as they entered through the great doors, the air was rent by piercing cries, and Minyara ran wildly out of the chamber at the center of the enclosure. When she saw Nyasha, she fell upon her, sobbing. Do not go in there, my sister. Oh, please, father, do not let her go, she cried hysterically. There's a monster in there, a snake with 5 heads. He said that he knew all my faults and I displeased him. He would swallow me alive if I had not run. Oh, my sister, please do not go inside that place. It frightened Nyasha to see her sister so upset, but leaving her father to confront Minyara, she bravely made her way to the chamber and opened the door. On the seat of the great chief's stool there lay a garden snake. Nyasha laughed with relief and joy. My little friend, she exclaimed. It's such pleasure to see you here, but why are you here? I am king, said Nyoka. And there before Nyasha's eyes, the garden snake changed his shape. I am the king. I am also the hungry boy who you shared a yam with in the forest, and the old woman who you made a gift of sunflower seeds. But you best know me as Nyoka, because I have been all of these. I know you as the most worthy and most beautiful daughter in the land, and it would make me very happy to make you my wife. And so was that. A long time ago, Nyasha agreed to be married, and the king's mother and sister took Nyasha to their house, and their wedding preparations began. The best weavers in the land laid out their finest cloth and their wedding garments. Villagers from all around were invited to the celebration, and a great feast was held. Nyasha prepared the bread for the wedding feast from millet that had been brought from her village. Mufaro proclaimed to all who would hear him that he was the happiest father in all the land, for he was blessed with two beautiful and worthy daughters, Nyasha the queen and Minyara the servant in the queen's household. So now it's time for your independent practice. I want you to think about how Cinderella and Mufaro's beautiful daughters are similar and different. You are going to either draw and upload a picture of your Venn diagram. So I have two differences for Mufaro's beautiful daughters, two differences for Cinderella, and then how are Cinderella and Mufaro's beautiful daughters the same in the middle? Or you can use the sentence stems below. Cinderella and Mufaro's beautiful daughters are similar because blank and blank. Cinderella is different than Mufaro's beautiful daughters because blank and blank. Mufaro's beautiful daughters is different from Cinderella because blank and blank. I cannot wait to see your work, and I will see you soon.